Hey everybody, this is Chris at Zenarch Reptiles. Thank you for joining me once again. How you guys doing? I hope you guys are doing great. I hope your day is awesome, and I hope that everything's going well for you. So, if you guys are new here, please consider subscribing and hitting that notification bell. What that notification bell does for you is keep you in the loop of all my upcoming videos that I release every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. So, all I ask is if you guys get something from these videos, is that you hit that like button. I would appreciate a subscribe, but that like button really helps me out and gets me out there in the YouTube community. Anyways guys, before we get started, I'm going to talk about some things that I struggle with personally to become a full-time breeder, and also I'm going to go down a list of things that you probably should think about. And in no way I want you guys to be discouraged or depressed about this, because I think if you guys want to do anything, you can. I believe in you guys. Definitely, if you are headstrong and you have the willpower, you can do anything you want. But it's always good to actually think about things before you jump in. And some of these things at the beginning are things that I personally struggle with, and other things that you probably should think about, or I do think about, before you start breeding full-time. I have a lot of people that want to start a ball python breeding business or a reptile business. And I'm just going to talk about some things that I always ponder, and some things that I've learned. And you know what, I might get beat up pretty bad for this one, because some people are not going to agree with me, and that's fine. That's the great thing about being your own person. Everybody has their own opinions and has their own mindset. But let's get started. So you're thinking about becoming a full-time breeder, and you love reptiles, and you love breeding ball pythons, and it's what you want to do. Me personally, you guys know the story, but if you guys are new here, I've been keeping and breeding reptiles since '99, so I've had lots of experience with reptiles. Now when it comes to ball pythons, I started about 6 years ago, about 6.5 years ago, and the last 3 years I've been breeding a lot more. And on average I've been breeding anywhere from about 65 to 75 hatchlings a year. And I know that's not the biggest business out there, business slash hobby, but I'm bigger than some and a lot smaller than some too. But it kind of gives me at least some credibility of talking about this. I'm constantly adding to my collection, and it's growing every year. I also had a rat breeding business. I was breeding normal rats for 3 companies here in Washington State. They were wanting about 300 rats per week, and with it I was making about $20K a year, plus all the money I made from selling my ball pythons and all the other reptiles that I dabble with. I do breed other reptiles on a small scale, but obviously the biggest thing I breed is ball pythons. That's the majority of the other money I make, besides breeding rats. I was actually thinking about putting my 2 weeks notice in and starting this full time. COVID-19 hit, and it actually let me know that I wasn't ready, because it pretty much destroyed my rat breeding business. I haven't sold one normal, actually I think I sold one package since this happened. So now my rats, I'm getting rid of my normal rats. I've been giving them away. I've been also selling them at a discount price, and I'm keeping about 18 or 19. Now I've been kind of bumping up my African softers just for my collection to feed them off. So for my monitors, my tegus, and all that stuff, I've been just keeping African softers just because they're easier, less maintenance, and they take up less room, and they don't have that smell. So I don't have to have that vent going 24/7 in my garage. That being said, there's some things about becoming a full-time breeder that's very important. The thing I struggle with is there's lots of things I personally like about reptiles that I'm afraid if I become a full-time ball python breeder that I'm going to give up. One of my biggest reptile dreams is actually to have a facility where that I can actually take in animals, reptiles that no one wants anymore, and I can find new homes for them. That's big in my heart, something I've always wanted to do, and it's definitely one of my dreams and passions. And I'm always afraid that I'll have to forego that if I become a ball python breeder, because I'll be spending a lot more time on that than this. And that's one of the things I always ponder before I think about jumping in and breeding ball pythons full time. I would also like to maybe someday have like a reptile zoo for education. I can bring kids in from schools and show them about them and show them that they're not evil, because every time you see a reptile on TV, what frustrates me is they always show them as something evil. It's something, either if you're gonna have a reptile in a movie, you're always gonna see some kind of witch. It's gonna be attacking humans. I mean, like, even on like the old cartoons, the snake was gonna eat the boy on Jungle Book. It's always shown as their villain, and I would love to prove them wrong that they're actually not. But sometimes I worry about if I become a full-time ball python breeder, that I'm gonna kind of push the other stuff away. Another big decision is, like, do I wanna make this more like a business, and do I wanna treat my animals more like a commodity than actually pets? That's a big fine line for a lot of people. I'm not saying I'm gonna neglect my animals, but I will not be able to spend as much time and as much care if I'm mass producing a lot of reptiles. You know, you can actually do what like Ozzy is and get some really high-end snakes and sell less, but if you start treating them like a business, you can't treat your snakes the same. And this is gonna make a lot of people mad, but it is true. When you start treating them like commodities and you're trying to make money off of them, you're going to see them a little bit different than you would if you're just doing this for fun. But what I'm saying is I got to treat them more like a inventory than a pet. And am I ready to kind of do that? And the thing is like, I'll be honest with you, if you think of your business, if you think of your reptiles as a hobby, they will always be a hobby. If you think of them as a business, they can definitely be a business, and you can actually make money doing this. But there's always a fine line for me, because I love animals first, and business is kind of like something I've been pondering for a long time, and it's something I'm thinking about heading that way, and I probably will sometime. But it's always been a trip up for me, because you know how much I love my animals, and I'm also afraid that, you know, I won't get to spend as much time with them if they become a complete business. But let's talk about some things that you will have to get in your head if you want to breed ball pythons or any reptiles full time. This is a thing that I find out a lot of reptile breeders have a problem with. Since I've been doing this for about 6 years, I'm breeding ball pythons, and this is not talking about what all the years I've spent breeding other reptiles and keeping reptiles. In the last 6 years, I've seen at least 10 people that I was actually talking to on a daily basis about ball pythons. They are no longer doing this no more. They didn't have the longevity to keep them in the game. So that happens a lot. People are all gung-ho, and a year later down the road, they give up because it's not happening as fast, or they decide it's not what they want to do. So definitely you got to have the perseverance. It's something you have to know before you start, that this is something I can actually see through to the end. You have to have the perseverance and the drive to keep it going. I see people online talking about all their friends that you know, they were strong at first and stopped doing it. So you definitely have to have the drive to keep it going. Are you willing to sell yourself? So when I go to the shows, I have to sell my product. And the thing is like, if this Joe over here, average Joe, Dino over here, is selling the exact same morphs I am, and we both spent the time, got quality animals, and they both look amazing, I'm gonna have to sell myself as trustworthy. And I'm not saying that I have to pretend I am, but like when I buy something from Ozzy Boyd's or from Jessica Boca, I know exactly what I'm going to get, and they're trustworthy. You have to spend the time, and you have to sell yourself and market yourself to be a reputable breeder. It takes time, it takes effort. It's something that you're going to have to earn, and it's something you can't buy into. You have to earn it and spend the time. There is no shortcuts here. You'll have to dedicate your time to be true to your word and also be true to quality. You'll have to teach and write and speak about your hobby, because when you go to these shows, or even when you sell something locally, I sell lots of snakes locally, I'll see people out in public and they'll ask me about the snakes, what I should do if something's going wrong. I get phone calls, I get text messages, I get Instagram messages, I get Facebook messages asking me what I should do. And so you'll have to be willing to teach, you'll have to be willing to talk about it and write things down about what you're doing. And you'll have to have the knowledge to know what you're doing and explain it to them. So not only to have the knowledge, but also how to explain it to them when you start selling these animals. This is actually something I see even certain people cannot take this at all. And I've seen people get mad, even at shows, they get really mad. Can you take criticism? You guys don't see a lot of it. You do see some of it on my YouTube channel, but all the private messages I get, people are always talking down to me, saying you're doing this wrong, or you're not right. And the truth is, I know I'm right because I can look at my animals and know they're healthy. But they tell me this don't work, this don't work, this don't work. And I know it works because I've done it for years, and there's people that have been doing it for longer than me. Someone like Justin Kabuk and Billy Rose, which, you know, like Billy Rose has given me lots of pointers because I've talked to him. He's willing to actually help me out and talk about stuff, and I know it works, and it works for him. He's had amazing snakes for about 17 years, but people always talk crap about you and get in your face and say you're wrong. Everybody's opinionated. I mean, that's a great thing, that everybody can have their own opinion, and what works for you might not work for me, or vice versa. What people need to learn to do is agree to disagree, and if people talk smack about you, you just let it go off, brush it off, and move on, because that's going to happen, especially even in the reptile world. There is that 10% that always want to talk trash. They've never bred nothing in their life, but they already know more than you. That's the truth. This is one of the things I kind of wonder myself, will I still enjoy it if I do this full time? Because I enjoy it now. I love breeding, I love reptiles, I love animals, but what if it comes to 9 to 5? Will I still love it as much? Because right now it's a hobby. I do it out of joy. Like some people like to go hiking, some people like to ride ATVs, some people like to go, you know, travel the world. My hobby is breeding and keeping reptiles. But will I enjoy this as much if this becomes a job? And I'm kind of afraid that, will it make me, when I become a full-time reptile keeper, will it make me want to actually feel that way about my reptiles? And this is another thing that people have a problem with too, is knowing when to transition into full-time. A lot of people jump the gun, and next thing you know, they're out of money. The last couple years, I made a lot of money, and I sold lots of snakes, and I was doing really good. And I saw the numbers coming in, and it's like, wow, this is amazing. I can definitely do this. COVID-19 hit, and I kind of realized that, man, I guess I wasn't ready. And that's, I hate COVID. I think it's a horrible thing, and I know people actually died from it. I haven't had no personal friends, but I've had friends, family die from it, and it's horrible. But the one good thing that came out of it was that I learned that I wasn't ready to transition to that. And that's the main thing, is you have to know when it's the correct time and when you have the right amount of, you know, everything set up, lined up before you do it. Anyways, guys, just some things that you should ponder before you think about doing this full time. And not being a downer, if you want to do this, definitely be motivated. Definitely do it. I'm not saying that, just saying, I'm just giving you some things that I wonder about myself, and also some things you should probably ponder before you take the plunge. Anyways, guys, I would appreciate if you guys check out some of my other videos right here. Also, hit that subscribe button. It really helps me out. Love you guys. Keep positive. Keep going. Keep pushing on. And I will see you next time. Bye.